Hey guys, it's Stacy from My Petite Garden. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I will be taking you around and taking a look at all the Hoyas that I still have. If you have watched my houseplant tour video that I posted earlier in this autumn, you'll notice that my Hoya collection have definitely went down. Some of you even commented and asked where some of my Hoyas were. So I have definitely downsized quite a bit on my Hoyas. I used to collect a lot of Hoyas. Like I'd say probably 80 to 90% of my collection were Hoyas. That has changed because I've had quite an ordeal with my Hoyas in terms of caring for them. A lot of them are quite finicky because I collected some of the rare ones and they tend to be a little more, I guess, high maintenance. And also the main reason is because I've been dealing with mealybugs on my Hoyas for a while now. They are so attractive to mealybugs. I think every single Hoya I've had in my collection has had mealybugs on it at one point or another. So for me, I can't keep up with it and it just stresses me out. So for my own sanity, I have just reduce the amount of Hoyas I have in my collection. So let's take a look around, and I will also talk about, just briefly, about their care that I'm giving them in terms of watering, their potting mix, what kind of light that they get, and so forth. So let's get started. We are starting off with my Hoya passiflora. This one is sitting on the windowsill in my kitchen, so it is facing a south window. And it gets a good amount of light during the afternoon time. So it is growing really well here. If I can find a picture of when I first got it, how tiny it was just a little plug. So now it is trailing beautifully. And one thing I do want to know in terms of pest issues is that this plant has dealt with mealybugs quite a few times. And because of the way the leaves are, mealybugs can very easily hide in between the nooks and crannies of the leaves, which makes it also very difficult to get rid of. So I ended up having to use systemics, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, to finally eradicate the mealybugs. But here and there, I do have to check to make sure that they haven't come back. In terms of potting mix, this is in a very airy potting mix of either a coco coir base or a peat base, but I think this one in particular is a coco coir, and it has a lot of perlite or pumice mixed in with some bark to make it very airy and fluffy, because I like my plants, especially my Hoyas, to have a lot of drainage in their potting mix. And then in terms of watering, I water this once a week no matter what season it is. Overall, I do think that this Hoya is a pretty low maintenance Hoya. It grows fairly quickly and very easy to propagate. This is a Hoya AH074. This plant grows on my bay window, which faces east, so it gets early morning light. Again, I water this once a week. It is in my airy potting mix, similar to the Hoya before. This plant, I have a struggle with keeping the splashiness on it. I find it very difficult to maintain. I've tried it under multiple light conditions, and yet it still seems to have problem maintaining the splash. Next, we have my Hoya Kalina. This is such a lovely one. I love the leaves on this one. It also hangs by my bay window, which faces east, so it gets early morning light. Also in my very airy potting mix. And I water this again once a week. And it grows a little bit better, I find, in the warmer seasons. During the colder seasons, I noticed that the growth definitely slows down quite a bit. And if you give this plant enough light, the leaves will tint a reddish color. This is my Hoya Polyneura albomarginata. The variegation is on the outer rims on the leaves. This is the mother plant of my Hoya Polyneura, and I've taken a lot of propagations from this and shared it with a lot of people. However, it stopped growing a bit during the summer and spring season, and now it's finally growing again. This one has dealt with mealybugs quite a bit, and I finally had to use systemics on this as well. It is in my Hoya potting mix, same mix as all the other ones, and I water this about once a week. This sits under my grow lights on my plant shelf, so it gets light from above.
This is my Hoya sigillatus Borneo. This one is currently in pawn, but I will be switching this over to fluval stratum due to the fact that I think it's just not happy in it, and I will need to see what else I can do to help it grow. It is under my grow lights on my plant shelf. I water this a little bit once a week. Next Hoya here is a Hoya Hoya, and I've had this Hoya for a long time now. It is currently sitting on my plant shelf under grow lights, and you can see when it gets enough light, the leaves will turn a pinkish red color. Right now under these lights, it's not turning any colors. It used to sit on my south-facing windowsill, and that's when it got a lot of light during the spring and summer. It is in my potting mix, same as the others, and I water this once a week. This is a Hoya parviflora, and this one is actually a cutting off of my mother plant, which I no longer have. I ended up selling the mother plant, and this little cutting I wasn't sure if I was going to keep or not, but so far it's doing really well. It is growing in fluval stratum. I've had it ever since I propagated it in it, and I just water it a little bit once a week. It is under grow lights, and the color is turning a little pink, which is really nice. This is my Hoya I'm gonna have to put it on the screen. Mariana or something like that. It's so unique because the leaves are extremely thick and hard, and the leaves grow this ruffly edge to it, and they're very tiny and dainty. And you can see that's a new leaf growing right there. So I had moved this plant from my grow lights to this spot here, which gets afternoon sunlight, as it is near a west facing window, or sliding door windows, I guess. And it's doing so much better now. It's starting to grow, and the new leaves are coming in actually green, because as you can see, the older leaves are all kind of bleached in color, and I think that was due to a lack of nutrients as well. So now I'm so glad I moved it and repotted it. It is in pond now, and it actually seems to be liking it, and I just watered this a little bit once a week. Next, I have here my Hoya sigillatus Acai, and it is growing in fluval stratum. I actually moved it here from a regular potting mix because it was doing so bad. The leaves kept dropping. So once I repotted it into fluval stratum, I kind of started fresh because the roots were not doing good. And now it is thriving, absolutely thriving, and it's put out so much new growth, and the leaves are sizing up so nicely, and it's really happy in stratum, and I'm going to keep it here. It's also sitting on the same shelf as the other Hoya, so it gets light from my west-facing sliding doors. Then we have my Hoya Kentiana Lori Lynn. This has got to be one of my favorite Hoyas because of the beautiful variegation and how the leaves turn pink if given enough light, and the new leaves come out pinkish. So it is so beautiful, and it's a very fast and easy grower for me. I've propagated from this plant many times. It is in just my regular Hoya potting mix under grow lights, and I water this once a week. And now it's putting on a lot of new growth. And something I noticed with my Hoyas is that a lot of them are now just starting to put out new growth during the colder season. I don't know if that happens with yours as well. One thing I love about Hoyas is the way their new leaves come out. It just looks so adorable. This is another favorite. This is my Hoya ETS 10, and it is a very little dainty coin-like Hoya. It grows very nicely, and I don't have any issues with this at all. It flowers constantly, and the flowers are so dainty. It is in a Hoya aeroid potting mix. I water this once a week, and it is on my plant shelf under grow lights. And it also gets a little bit of afternoon light from my sliding doors. I also grew this one from an unrooted cutting that I bought off of someone, and I will post a picture if I can find it, but it was just a 2-leaf nut rooted cutting, and now it's grown so beautifully, and I'm so proud of this one. This next one here is my Hoya Acuta Red. I used to have this on my south-facing windowsill, and I've since moved all the plants off of that windowsill because I want to be able to close my blinds, and I wasn't able to do that when I had plants on that windowsill, and that window is in my bedroom. And it will turn a pinkish red color if given enough light on the leaves. This particular one that I have has thrown out this really long Hoya vine that is notorious with Hoyas. They don't put out any leaves and it just keeps vining and vining, looking for something to grab onto. So we'll see what happens with it. It's just some regular potting mix, and I water this one once a week. This is my Hoya Mini Kentiana, and you guys have seen me repot this with you in a previous video. So there's not much to say here. I am currently rehabbing it in fluvial stratum, so fingers crossed it will start to grow and thrive, hopefully. This is my Hoya carnosa narrow leaves, I believe it's called. So the leaves are supposed to be more narrow than your regular Hoya carnosa. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I love it. It's just a typical green Hoya carnosa, and I love it for that because it is a very easy grower. It is growing in my regular Hoya aroid potting mix. Water this once a week like all the others, and I currently have it on my plant shelf in my bedroom under grow lights. And you'll notice this with not just my Hoyas, but all of my plants. If they are in regular potting mix, they will be in terracotta pots so that it lets the moisture wick out very easily. And if it is in fluvial stratum or pond, they are in clear plastic containers. You'll also notice some light splashing on some of the leaves on this Hoya carnosa, and that's a little feature that I really appreciate about this one and makes it a little unique. Then we have my Hoya carnosa Wilbur Graves China. I am so surprised at this one because I was not thinking it was gonna maintain its splash when I first got it, and then I just put it on this plant shelf facing my west facing window, and I left it alone, kind of ignored it, and it started thriving. So this is a very good example of plants that thrive without you having to hover around it. It is in my regular Hoya potting mix, and I water this once a week like all the other Hoyas. And I just want to say, if you want a low maintenance Hoya, I would definitely recommend a Hoya carnosa of some sort, because I find that they are very easy to grow and low maintenance, so you can have a beautiful plant without too much effort. Lastly, I have my Hoya curtisii. This hanging basket sits in my son's room, and it is facing an east window, so it gets beautiful early morning light. And the more light it gets, the more silver the leaves get. It has a silver purplish tone to it. It is in a very, very full basket. I probably need to repot this at some point. It is just in my regular Hoya potting mix, and because this is in a plastic hanging pot, I don't water this as often. Sometimes I water this once every 2 weeks. Here you can see the blooms. I think they're past their prime, but I was happy to just at least catch it in bloom.
Okay, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, or if you want to DM me on Instagram, that is fine too. You can find me on Instagram at mypetitegarden, and you can also follow me on there for more daily-ish content. All right, so I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!